Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another live stream from DC Universe Online. My name is Mepps. I am your community manager, and this right here is Avair. Is that how you say it? Avair?
Yeah.
Avair. Got it. Should have probably asked a minute ago. This is Avair, our lead systems designer here on the game. Say hi.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. I'm happy to be here. I've been on the project for like about a year now. Transferred from the San Diego headquarters. So.
Yes, you are a transplant.
Yeah, there's too much ocean down there, so I was like, I'll come to Texas.
You want it to be hotter.
And check it out. Yeah, it's a little bit warmer. Yeah, that's fine. So.
Cool. Well, we are here to talk to you today about the Stats Revamp, which obviously has been a big thing for the whole team here, including Avair and myself and the whole systems team and the whole design team and engineering. Everybody's been involved in this, really.
It's been a big effort. So
yeah.
It's been fun to work with everybody on it.
And it will be a big effort for a while.
Yeah.
We have much work to do, but we are at the point where we are ready to tell all of you about the news and get going on explaining what's going on and all that good stuff. We're going to go through the announcement we made earlier today, which you can find at our website at dcuniverseonline.com. And then when we're done with that, we've got some questions that people have been asking all day long, which we will go through and answer as we can here.
Yep.
And then if there are further questions after that, you can hit us up in the chat here. We'll try to answer those as well. When we run out of time, we will continue this on the forums, as we usually do. So let's see. It's been a team effort. I said that. This is a major... actually, this has been an expansion of the project. We announced, in February, I think, that we were going to revamp stats and remove combat rating differential from the game.
Yeah, that was my welcome to the team.
Yeah.
Like, hey, thanks
by the way,
for coming over.
we're
doing all this stuff. So.
And it's kind of expanded. We're doing that, but we're also doing a bunch of other things that go along with it.
Yeah, as we kind of dug into the issue, we noticed, well, we didn't notice, we already knew, but it's interlocks with a lot of other things.
Yeah.
So we want to address those things as well.
So a lot of those things we're going to hit. And so let's go through the post right now, and then we'll get to your questions afterwards. Going to click over to the post itself right here. So this is... zoom in a little bit.
Ah, perfect.
Yeah, there we go. That looks good. This is the post. We're just going to hit the high levels. Obviously, if you want to read the whole thing, you should. It's very interesting. All of it is juicy. All of it is exciting. None of it is boring at all. And we used only the good words. So read the thing. It's on the forums, on the website. But we'll hit the high notes right here. Obviously... we are revamping stats, removing advanced mechanics and with mastery bonuses, enhancing supercharges, modifying power and power regeneration, removing power points, ending mid-range, and preparing for the future.
That's a lot of things.
Yeah, that's kind of a lot of things.
See if I can remember this all. I have notes, so it's good.
We're good. We're just going to have a chat here. So get to the first part. Stats Revamp. We are removing combat rating differential. Can you just give us a little bit of background? What is combat rating differential?
So CR differential is basically where we determine your power based off of your CR. So you go into an instance, and the difficulty would be adjusted based on how close your CR was to the instance, right? So your stats meant less because your CR was sort of the main thing. And so for us, that and you guys, I think that sounds a little weird, right? Because
we've heard your feedback.
Yeah, we've heard feedback, and basically your CR is supposed to be kind of the measurement of how powerful you are, not the determining factor. And so we felt that we wanted to make that actually the case, and so we are removing CR differentials. So your CR doesn't determine a whole lot anymore. It just shows you it's a relative measurement of how much power you have, how many stats you have, basically.
Yeah. So just to be clear again. Combat rating itself is still a thing, still in the game, but the differential in determining your power is gone.
Yeah, effectively, CR is your level. So,
yeah,
that's how we use it. So.
Okay, we are smoothing out how you gain stats over the course of your character's life. I'm reading your words back to you.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
That must be exciting for you.
I took notes on these as well, so it's my words and repeating, and it's fine.
Okay, so we're smoothing out stats over the course of your character's life. What does that mean?
All right, so I was making sure I hit my main points here. So part of the reason that we're smoothing out the progression is because previously we took a look at our curve, we'll call it, right, and it was sort of like a curve and then stepped, and it had a bunch of crazy things going on, and so we wanted to make sure it was nice and smooth, so that you don't have any surprise areas.
How does a player notice the not smooth curve?
So you'll be going and you might be getting a breastplate or something like that, and it's got 100 health on it, and then the next one you get has like 400, and you're like, wow, that's a huge jump, and the things you're fighting take noticeably longer to kill, and it gets bumpy, and when you know what to expect, generally you're more comfortable, or we hope you are.
Yeah.
And so part of the process of smoothing it out has really been going back and looking into how we create items in the back end, which is really exciting for me, maybe not for you guys. I don't know, but hopefully you feel the effects, right? We've made it so as you level up, you get nice incremental growths. They're exponential, so it'll be kind of a similar percentage each time.
I feel like, especially systems designers, their eyes just kind of light up when they get the chance to make something right instead of kind of band-aid something.
We're fixing problems is what we love to do. Yeah. So that and spreadsheets. So
we've seen a lot of that over the last months. Okay. That makes sense. I think we are redistributing where stats come from. What does that mean? Yeah,
so we noticed that there were things that you guys put a lot of effort into that maybe didn't give you a lot of reward, right? And we kind of touch on this later, but skill points was one of those. You go and you complete many feats and do that sort of stuff, and you work hard to get all your skill points, and then you go and you check a little box and it'd give you +3. And so that didn't feel commensurate with the effort you put in, and so we've that's just an example. We've gone through and increased or decreased power where we saw fit. So things like mods should be more effective now. Skill points, which we'll talk about again in a moment. Those are worth more, and some other things are worth less, like socket bonuses and stuff like that. We still want to encourage those things, and we want you guys to be using the correct mods in the correct slots, but that shouldn't be giving you percentages of crit and stuff that just will remain powerful for forever. And so we've adjusted those things.
Cool. All right. We are also revamping stat-related skill points.
Right. Yeah. So it's later. We're talking about skill points. So basically, we've done a lot of work to make that process less confusing. One of the things that we really want to focus on is making stuff more clear, right? So you can get in and you can kind of understand what's going on. And so we have removed all of the stat bonuses from the iconic trees, and also from the weapon trees. And so we've gather them all up and put them in one spot, and you can get to them pretty much immediately when you start getting skill points. You can dump them in there.
So what does that look like in the game?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm glad you asked.
Yeah.
So we have you can see this UI here, stat points, right? And so we've laid them all out, and we do a little bit of forcing here. So you can't just jump. You can jump in and at level 15, you can start getting your crit stuff, right? And then after that, you can start putting points into your crit damage or magnitude, that sort of stuff. And then after that, you can start spending points in particular stats. And you can spend that up to, into your raw stats. And those will actually scale as you gain more of them. And so, it used to be, hey, I get +3, and now I get +3 for a little while, and then I'll start getting +5 and +6. And, when you get up there, the reward is in line with where your CR is at. And so...
Cool.
That should be exciting. That's we're excited. I don't know, but that way each skill point you spend will be worth it when you spend it.
Awesome. Do you want to spend some skill points?
I do. I would love to spend. We only have 16 though. So,
pretty low level. This is a level 25 character.
Yeah. So here
we can bump up. We need to.
We have a super awesome stuff where we can just do all this. So. How much does it require? I forget.
We should mention also this is a very work in progress build on an internal server, so there are bugs, especially visually in the UI. So
how many does this require? I always forget specific numbers and stuff, so you have to forgive me. I think we have to spend 20 total, which we only had 16.
We're out.
Oh, we ran out. We got to do some more feats. So, but yeah, so you can see here, we actually I'm pointing at the screen, like you guys can see. It's great. I'm a live stream noob, but you can see here, we'll actually show you what you get for next level. This is a little, see, you can see 2% here, and then you'll gain 12% here, you gain 2% more, and that'll actually grow with each thing. And so you can see what you get when you spend a point before you spend it. So that's nice.
Cool.
It's a new feature.
So yeah, that's what it looks like. In the game. We'll pop into the game from time to time here as we are looking at the UI as it's changed. But we'll go back.
And we're actually this is even a slightly older build than what we have running super internally. With the and so we're going through and fixing bugs and polishing all this stuff. So
definitely. And actually, this actually let me go back real quick.
Yeah.
This screen right here. And let me hide us. Is the new arc screen for like when you bring up skill or PowerPoints, right? When you press K on the keyboard.
Yeah, so when you hit K, you come here and we have made it so there are a lot less layers to this UI.
Yeah.
So you can just kind of see all of the things you got. Something you may have noticed is right here. You don't have 2 trees anymore. Is it time to talk about that? Can we talk about
do we want to talk about that?
Is that later?
Let's save that for the removing
secret.
PowerPoint section. That'll be a little tease for later.
Very nice. Yeah. So we've set all this stuff up so that it's easier to find and whatnot. You've still got all this stuff going on here with your movements, and that's you don't have to dig for that. Weapons
that hasn't changed.
Still work like they do.
Well, actually, click into weapons. You want to talk about that? Yeah, why not? You'll see you don't have a bunch of skill points in here.
Well, yeah. So we actually designed
this, right, buckets.
No, exactly. Yeah, you don't have your stat stuff in here. And we also designed it so you don't have to do a bunch of scrolling, which is kind of nice. So you can see everything on one page, and you can purchase all your combos through here. And then this stuff is going on.
Weapon mastery remains.
Yep, that's still there.
We'll get to that in a moment. Okay, awesome. Let's move on.
This says flight up here. It's exciting. It's not over here anymore.
Was that a big change?
It's super big.
On the left now? Okay. Good to know.
We make the big decisions. Yeah.
All right. We are also removing advanced mechanics and weapon masteries bonuses, damage bonuses.
Yeah. So it's awesome. For a while I was calling them AM mechanics, and I was like, I'm such a noob.
That's not a thing.
Such a noob. It's like EMP pulse. It's fine. So we are removing AMs, and so one of the things that AMs did is they structured gameplay so that you did a certain number of actions, well, depending on what your power set was, but you do a limited number of things, and then you get a huge burst at the end. So you get a bunch of damage and some power regen and whatnot. And so what that did is we actually have like anywhere from 24 to 30 powers per power set. And AM's limited the ones that you were able to use.
Yeah, you had to pick at least those 4 or whatever.
Yeah, and so there was a lot of kind of conflicts really with like how the trees would work, and you'd have to find out how you could piece together your AMs and do all of that, and then not get to use any of your other abilities. And so we wanted to open up choice, and there were a couple balance issues as well that we wanted to fix with that. We noticed that people using AMs were doing significantly more damage than those that weren't, and while we think skill is great and we want to keep it around for sure, we felt we could take that the skill that we wanted and kind of move it elsewhere. Something that was maybe more transparent that you could see. And so
a couple of gaps, right? We had the people flawlessly performing AM.
Yeah.
The people not doing AM at all. The people with powers don't have AMs quite yet to the certain stage, right? And then you have non-damage rolls.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. And so we found that
big gap, right?
It's multi-dimensional.
Yes, it's like a.
But we found that the gaps were quite large, and so that was difficult / it's not something that we necessarily think is a healthy play pattern, and so we took a look at that and determined that we can get more longevity out of the ability system if we went ahead and removed AMs and the weapon mastery bonuses. Now I do want to mention specifically that we do still have weapon masteries, and you'll still get some bonus, but it's not as large as it used to be.
I mean, you'll do the attack, right? And
you do the attack. There's still a combo. You'll still hear the noise and all that kind of cool stuff, and there'll be a bonus. It's just nowhere near what it used to be, and this will allow you to pick many different abilities. So you can pick the abilities you like and the ones that fit your playstyle and your character.
Now, what about the powers that kind of have an advanced mechanic built into them, like, for example, pets or combos?
So there will still be some mechanics there, right? So the combos still stay, so you still get to use combos, and they're still desirable to use. They're a desirable option, right? So the whole thing is that we love options, we like choices and good choices, hopefully, right? And so as we go through all the different power sets, we want to make sure that you have good choices. So I like combos and I want to do them. That's a good choice. Or I don't. I want to use stray abilities, or I want to do go this other route. And so we want to make sure that those exist. And if they don't yet exist, we're looking at building more and that sort of stuff. So
cool.
Yeah.
All right. Talked about that and that and that. I think we're good to move on. We'll obviously get to questions about this later on in the show. But let's go to enhancing supercharges.
Right. So
what's that about?
It's so exciting. I actually love supercharges. So when we looked at removing AMs, and I mentioned skill earlier, right? It's something that we definitely want to retain. And so one of the ways that we want to provide for skill opportunities was by using the supercharge mechanic, right? It's something that's in there. It's something that people understand.
It's been there since launch.
It's been there, since launch.
Neglected, perhaps, but
maybe. But we wanted to make it bring it a little bit more to the forefront, right? And say, hey, this is not something that I just use every once in a while when it's there or not, depending on what my AM is. So we're going to bring it to the forefront and allow you to use them more frequently, allow you options so that determining or based on your play style, you can use them even more frequently, right? So if I really love supercharges and I get maybe certain head mods or something, right, that fit a play style, or I like a particular build, I can do that through supercharges. And so we're gonna go through a balance pass with them. We're gonna make it so that you can go and use particular abilities or particular attacks that allow you to use them more frequently, and so you can make decisions. Hey, do I want to regenerate a lot of power so that I can use my superpowers more often, or do I want to go the supercharge route and use those more frequently, or a mix and that sort of stuff. And so they are basically a skill component. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Now, we don't really have details about those specifics yet. That's a to be done thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but so we're working on it.
We'll have more before we hit test, or as we hit test at least.
Yep, for sure.
Cool. All right, let's move on to modifying power and power regeneration. Now, this is a pretty big topic of conversation on the forums this morning. Mainly, I think, because we don't have a whole lot of detail to share with people yet. However, why are we modifying power regeneration?
So we're modifying it because we removed AMs and whatnot, right? And so that leaves a big hole where you could maintain your own power, right? And so we had a couple of goals going into this, right? We want to allow you guys to be able to maintain your own power regeneration to an extent, which you already did somewhat. And so there was a hole with AMs, so we're filling that hole back up. But also make sure controllers were still important, that they still played a viable role, but didn't just feel like a mana battery. And so it's kind of an interesting...
Got to walk that line where you have both, right?
Yeah. And so we want it so that you're working with your controller or the controllers in your group, if that's how you roll, to manage this resource. And then, if you get low or something happens, you have more choices on how to refill it. And so choices, you'll probably hear me say a lot, so I apologize. But so that's pretty much what we're doing there.
Cool. Okay, so, and again, we'll have more details about that.
Yeah, and we've made changes and stuff like that, but we have to go through, or are going through actually, extensive playtesting and stuff internally, and so before we give too specific details, we'd like to make sure that was all tested out and everything. So
cool. All right, let's move on to removing PowerPoints, and actually, let's just jump in the game and show people what removing PowerPoints looks like.
Yeah, perfect. Are we there? We're there?
Yeah, we're there.
Okay, so we teased at this earlier, we'll say, but the right here you can see your two trees are missing. We've replaced it with this one thing, and we have a new or an adjusted and updated UI element you can see right here, right?
Now, so I mentioned I was level 25, or this character was level 25 earlier. The tree opened right to level 25.
Yeah, so
that's interesting.
It's even highlighted, which is fantastic.
Wow.
So we went here and we highlighted the stuff that your most recent rewards, and so that will change as you level up, and this will scroll down to show you kind of what your most recent thing is. And over here, you'll be able to see the tooltip for that, and then you can go and look down at different abilities and find out what they're going to get in the future, and you can see what you've gotten in the past. And so I apologize, we have some duplicates in here. I'll be going through and removing some duplicates and stuff. Don't look that direction.
Again, work in progress.
Yeah,
not a problem.
And so we also have to update these tooltips and whatnot. But so if we kind of scroll through here, we've tried to simplify it. We've made it so this is all very straightforward, right? Because the way our trees were set up previously with AMs, it sort of provided some false choices. And so we said, hey, you know what? If we want to give the players options and we want to let them kind of explore what their power can do, let's just give them everything as they level up, right?
Right. The real choice is, what do I put on my loadout?
Exactly,
not
yeah.
what do I choose to then maybe be able to put on my loadout?
Exactly. We were sort of double taxing, right? Because we gave you points and then we gave you a small loadout, and we're like, good
luck.
Good luck trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
But so here we're just saying, have all of these things and then determine how you want to play through your loadout. And so we're also using this chance to kind of add a couple other things in here. So if you kind of scroll up here, you can see the innate section. So these are things that we hadn't really we messaged, or we hadn't messaged well, that we want to make sure that people are aware of. So it has things like dodge and block. And
a lot of people don't know that you can block, actually.
Yeah. So I actually played the game for quite a while, and it was like, how do I dodge? Oh, yeah. So anyway, that's a little embarrassing. Sorry. But so it's here, you can see how to do that. And then we'll be updating these. Don't have tooltips yet, but you will be updating these so that you can read them, and we'll actually be moving them down here so you can see them. So.
I know we said we're going to do questions later, but because it was asked about 50 times so far this morning, how do I buy a power?
So interesting. So right here, you don't buy powers. You just get them as you level up, right? So for your power set specific things, that's how you do it. But if you want to, and I know people mentioned this before, you're probably wondering, what happened to my iconic powers? So right here, we've moved them in there. You can get them through skill points now.
There you go. Just like your movement abilities, essentially.
Yep, just like that. And so these will all be available in here. And so there's no more buying of powers. We just removed the PowerPoint concept, and so you got this going on. And you can see kind of what you get later on. And so, by the way, this order is still subject to change. So I don't want,
We've been tweaking it.
We've been tweaking it.
Somebody might have freaked out when he didn't get a heal soon enough.
Yeah, that's true. That was my bad. Or somebody.
I don't know
somebody
who that
on my
was.
team.
Yeah.
It was me. It was me. Definitely my fault.
So cool. This is a good place to go to learn about your powers. Mm-hmm. It's clear. Presents them as you level, and you don't have to buy them. You just get them.
Yep.
So
hopefully you can make cool builds and do all that stuff. Things that fit your character's theme. So
very cool. Why don't we click on loadouts too?
Sure.
Just to show people again, this is where your choice comes in.
Yep.
Right?
So you can look here and see all of the powers I've gotten thus far. I would have more, but I'm not level 30. I can put them here just like I could before. Something kind of we have information at some point on role passives.
We do.
You want to talk about that now, or we can talk about it later?
Yeah, no, let's talk about it right now.
So in the course, we mentioned that we are changing. We're doing a lot of rebalancing, which is necessary, right? For being going through and adjusting how stats work on the back end, changing AMs.
Basically, we didn't talk about this, but basically every number has changed.
Yeah,
right?
We changed all the numbers. They're like, hey, can you just make this an exponential curve? And we're like, we can do better than that. We'll change all the things.
So it's not like we changed a couple of numbers here and then everything else is the same. It's like, no, everything changed. All of the different things are now.
We did it for an eye towards the future, right? We want to be able to expand this, and some of the bonuses that you got previously weren't very expandable. Like we were just like, hey, you get +3 for this thing, or you get +5 for that, or and roll bonuses were one of those things, right? Like you got a tiny little bonus for being like a fire tank or whatever, right? And so in here we actually have gone through and I'm sad it's not in this build, but we have enumerated all of your different things, and they're for the most part they scale, right? They're almost completely. They all scale. So like damage, the damage rolls get a 10% damage bonus. The healing rolls get a restoration, 35% restoration bonus. By the way, these numbers, of course,
subject to change.
Subject to
all
change.
Of this.
We should put a little thing on the screen.
Yeah.
But they get these sorts of bonuses and stuff that will continue to scale with you, and so they'll always remain relevant.
Cool.
Which should be nice.
Okay.
So, yeah, and we'll display those on the here all the way up. Let me grab this.
On these blank tooltips.
Yep, on these blank tooltips. They'll be displayed here so that you can see what they are and that sort of thing. So
very cool. All right.
Thanks.
We'll get to your questions. I see a few coming in, but we'll get to those little bit later. Oh God, I've broken the world. Okay, there we go.
Oh, no.
So this is important. We're removing power points. That's great. Means you get all your powers. We are also ending the mid-range balance pass. What's going on there?
What?
Yeah, we spent a lot of time on this.
I better go figure out what's going on. No, so ending mid-range. So one of the things that we, when looking to clarify kind of the purpose of your abilities, and if you're going to take all of the powers that we give you and you're going to make choices with them, we want you to make solid choices, and we want you to have the information you need, right? And so it is very difficult to message, and I would say kind of a little confusing to use if you're using one power and it does different things at different ranges, and that's not a stated thing. If that's a standard mechanic,
how do you figure that out?
How do you figure it out? And do we want that, right? Because we want specific abilities to be better in some way than another one, right? Because I want you to weigh your options. Be like, I have ability A and ability B. Ability A is really good for this thing. Ability B is really good for this thing. And so one of the ways we're approaching, mid-range, or one of the ways we're ending it really, is by just defining certain abilities as melee abilities and saying, hey, those get a damage bonus. They're more dangerous to use, right? And so when you get in and you use these short-range abilities, they on the far and wide, I'll say, you do more damage. And so the ranged ones will do less damage. Our goal in the end is that melee and ranged will end. They'll be balanced and both be effective.
At the end of the day, kind of after a boss fight on the scorecard, you've done the same. One of you has maybe died a few times. One of you maybe hasn't.
Exactly. Right? And so the idea is that the melee stuff will simply just do more damage, and you'll have melee things. And so what this means is we need to go through and look at some of the abilities and make sure we've really refined their purposes and made sure that this is clearly a melee and this is clearly a ranged. And while there are some things that have kind of a mid-range sort of feel, like a point-blank A's and stuff like that, those will be classified as either basically it's melee or not melee.
Got it.
And so that's what's going on with that.
And just to back up a second, because we're removing the advanced mechanic bonuses, that's where all of the mid-range implementation was, right? Yeah. So when that's gone, it's all gone. Mm-hmm. That means the mid-range balance pass is essentially over as we move forward in this new direction. Yep. So people are going to ask, and we'll answer this question later, but people are asking about, the powers that haven't gotten the mid-range update yet. Will they be getting one? No, right?
No, it's not.
It doesn't exist anymore.
We will be going through their abilities and making them essentially melee ranged and adjusting the damage accordingly, but they'll be on par with everybody else.
Exactly. So. Okay. So I'm sure we'll get that question 100 more times today, but that's how it is. Okay, and then we're preparing for the future, which isn't really a specific topic, and we're not going to leak anything at this time.
Hopefully not.
However, doing these changes sets us up to be able to expand the game in cool ways, right?
Yep. Yeah. So one of the things, like I mentioned before, we updated the way that items were created on the back end, right? Which isn't super exciting for you guys. As a spreadsheet nerd, it is very exciting for me. And one of the things that it does mean, and I think is exciting for you guys, is that we can create items more quickly. We can balance more quickly, and there's a lot of, we can be more responsive, and that will allow us to spend more time on doing cool
other
updates
things
and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Plus, people have seen already the impact of the gear and time capsules, right? That's a completely new tech that's kind of related to the whole
it's definitely
revamp of things.
Yeah. And so more we'll be able to scale items and do that kind of stuff and kind of do tricks, we'll call them, with items, and so it should be very interesting.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, before you had to have these certain abilities on your loadout to be able to do anything, right? To compete at all. Now you can kind of have any abilities on your loadout, or you can make choices, which means we could, have more abilities in theory. Right?
In theory, that's what that means. Theoretically, for sure. Yeah, that means we'd be able to expand that system as well.
That's pretty cool.
And since the stats scale and stuff, how they do, those will just fit right in. So.
That's an interesting theory. That's cool. Yeah. Okay, so that's the post today. I'm gonna bring it back out here, bring up chat, and we're going to get to your questions.
I see some things that aren't questions in there.
There
lots of statements.
Lots of statements in chat. Well, that's okay. They can have statements. We're going to go to our prepared questions first, and by prepared, I mean people asked them before live in the Twitch chat right now.
Yes.
After about 9:30 this morning, between then and now. So let's just get into it. We may have already talked to these things, but it's okay to repeat ourselves. And then as we go, if you have questions, feel free to hit chat, and I'm actually going to put us in slow mode so that it's a little bit easier to catch your questions in chat. But as we get to the end of the questions we have here, we'll try to get your questions in chat. Okay, here we go. And I'm going to also try to mispronounce all of your names. I apologize.
Good, that's something to aspire to.
Tokidokij asks, so since there were 4 powers left to do the mid-range pass, you're going to scrap them? Will electricity and nature finally get some love? Kind of just asked that question.
Yeah, so we kind of just answered that. Melee and ranged abilities, melee will generally do more damage.
Yes.
And we have to adjust pretty much all of the power sets powers, and so we'll be taking a look at those ones just like everybody else.
Excellent. Which definitely speeds things up generally, I think, for those powers, because they're not going all, one at a time. They're all hitting whenever this hits, whenever that is.
Yep.
Okay. Lord Jareth asks, does combat rating still exist? Can you go over again the difference between combat rating and combat rating differential?
Sure. So combat rating it does still exist, but it's really just a measurement or kind of your level, and it's not really in the formulas or anything like that. So CR differential was the comparison of what you're fighting, their CR versus your CR, and you would get tweaked up or down based on how close you were. If you were above them, you would be much more powerful. If you were below them, you would be much weaker. And now we just say, hey, you have stats, and however your stats work out against theirs is how powerful you are.
Yeah.
And your CR is a rough measurement of that.
It's much more straightforward, right?
Yes, it should be much more straightforward. It's more transparent, for sure.
Cool. All right. Taibi Tahiri asks, any thoughts on removing damage modifiers? Now that the PowerPoint system is being removed, it would be nice to remove damage modifiers and the max damage mod.
Right. So this is kind of a two-part thing, right? So the max damage mod is staying, but is a significantly different form, right? So one of our pushes in this was to allow everybody to kind of contribute to the damage roll, right? Like we still have DPS and they're still at the top. The damage roll is, will still be at the top, but we're making it closer. So the controller, for instance, right, can put out a pretty good amount of damage. Everybody can hit a certain bar, and then the damage will be, slightly above that. But one of the things the max damage mod did is, we had everybody, and then we had here with max damage, and then we had here. You can't even see, it's off the camera. It's so big with damage, right? And so
it's 60% damage.
It was 60% damage, yeah, which is huge, right? Which is huge. And so right now it's let's see if I can recall. I cannot recall. It's a small percentage damage buff after you use superpowers.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So that's max damage. It'll just bump your damage a little bit if you choose to use it. What about damage modifiers on the abilities themselves?
Right. So the damage modifiers when you stay in combos. So as you went down a tree, a power tree, if you used a power and you stayed in a combo, you'd get a huge damage bonus. And so those are going away, right? Because one of the things those did was encourage you to go all the way down the tree, which no longer exists. Right. But it also limited the abilities that you can actually use. And so since we want to open that up, we took those away.
If you want to use all abilities that were the second row or whatever, go for it, right?
You can go for it, or iconic abilities if you want.
Sure.
And so with that in mind, we decided that those were kind of counter to some of our goals. And we did, we took some of the power, essentially. I can't use powers overused.
Power means 7 things in this game.
Exactly, yeah, your effectiveness, and we kind of spread it out, right? So like I said, the damage rolls, they all have 10% bonus damage, and so that will help differentiate. Not to mention the abilities that you use for the purpose of dealing damage and stuff.
Cool. So. Hope we answered your question. That was a good one. Agent Whitecell asks, is this all launching at once? And the answer is probably.
Probably, yeah. I mean, so we're going to get, basically we're going to put it in a package that all makes sense together, right? And so the idea is, we want to make sure it's balanced. We want to make sure everybody is updated and to a certain point, but it is a continuing and ongoing thing, right? We want to, when introducing more choice and more options and stuff like that, that takes time. But we want to make sure that everybody, hits the bar with one big package update, and then we'll be tuning it and stuff over time. Sure. Making sure that it meets our goals and that it meets your guys' goals and what you're looking for out of it. So.
And I think it's also worth noting we are kind of developing this update specifically different than we do most updates. It's kind of separate to be merged later with all the other good things, which we're not talking about today. So this is going to go on test next. That's the plan. It'll be the next thing that hits test, and depending on how long we need there. If it takes longer than we expect, we can hold it and we can continue with all of our other plans and then roll this out when it's ready. We're not time crunch to force this out, even if it's not ready.
Correct. Yeah, we realize the importance of essentially changing all of the numbers, right? And we want to make sure that we really nail that, because it's a big deal. It changes the way combat works and the way you play the game, and so we understand that's important.
Yeah, and like you said, you guys have playtesting every day thoroughly. Most of the studio is multiple days a week, and we're going to need the players to help us test once we're on the test server with whatever build is out there.
Yeah. You guys are the experts when it comes to playing, so we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. All right. Good question, Agent Whitecell. Marcus0314 asks, when will Nature and Electric be fixed? Oh, we kind of already answered that. When this update goes out, more or less. But we should be clear. Like, there is no more mid-range updates planned or coming.
Correct.
Right? There may be changes to certain abilities after the fact as we fine-tune, but there's not like...
Basically, mid-range was written on our whiteboard, and we just erased it.
Yeah, just like so going this way and then...
Yeah, that's how that goes. It's like out of my mind now. So.
Okay. It's gone.
Gone. It's just gone.
All right. Question here from Ant Tau. That's ant like the insect, not like your like relative.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Just in case you're wondering. He says, or she says, I'm all for everything in this update, but I am concerned about the fact that it was thrown at us as DOT players, dot players,
right,
are expecting our well-needed update. Will we have to wait even longer now? I guess we kind of just answered that a bit.
So we answered a little bit, though we do want to speak a little bit to dots and their effectiveness. So the average combat length will be a little bit longer than it used to be, not like crazy and stuff, and that is, of course, being tweaked, right?
Like we said, we're changing all of the numbers,
all of the things,
your
and
stats
so that
and NPC stats.
Exactly, yeah. So NPCs will be totally not totally different. Excuse me, they'll be balanced differently. But basically, that will make dots a little bit more effective in and of themselves. But it's under review. We are aware that is an issue, and we're going to be addressing it. I can't give a timeline or anything like that, but it's something that definitely we want to fix. So we're working on it.
We have our eye on dots and combat length.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Ed Devil asks, when you say less gap between those playing correctly and those not, does that mean removing skill from the game?
So no, right? What it means is we love skill, right? Skill. We have a skill-based game, and we want to make sure it's there. But we want to make sure that the rules of the game are very clear to everybody, and so AMs weren't effectively communicated to a lot of people, limiting it, etc. But that was one of the main things, and so there are a lot of people not using AMs, and so we want to make sure that the skill areas are transparent and that you know when you're engaging in them, you know when you've done something right or when you've done something wrong, and from there we want to use that to enforce skilled gameplay. But at the same time, there's going to be a learning curve and stuff like that, and we want to make sure that people that just jump in the game that don't yet know how to play, that they're not failing miserably, right?
Sure.
That they get in, they can play, they can have fun, and then they can see where to grow, and then they can hit the next threshold of skill essentially. So I'm managing my power correctly, my supercharged stuff, my movement. There's all sorts of areas and facing and your role and stuff like that. And so we want to make sure that those are the skill areas, and then it's not just that I know how AMs work and that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's you found it in the game, right? You didn't have to leave the game, find like me personally and ask me how to play. That's
exactly.
That's not what we wanted.
And so exactly, yeah. And then of course we have areas where those that are super skilled can play. Elite.
And so if I'm super skilled, if I'm gifted, if I'm in those groups that are taking down survival mode top levels, I'm still going to outperform other people.
Yeah.
Just not by the magnitude of like 10x.
Exactly.
Right?
And I think that people will still be able to stratify themselves via skill and stuff like that. It's just smaller margins are still very noticeable in as far as output goes, and we want to make sure that if you're positioning correctly, if you're doing that sort of stuff, that's a very obvious thing that you're succeeding at. Not only is it obvious because of how awesome you are, right, and how well you did, or the speed at which you killed something, or how long you can survive and all of that, but that it's obvious to other people, and they can say, hey, that guy's really skilled. I know what they're doing. I want to do that, and I'm going to watch them and figure out how to do that, right?
Yeah.
Because if you just did it through AMs, you would have no idea by watching somebody. You're just like, I don't know how they're doing that. Yeah. How can I get better?
Why do you have more damage?
I don't know. Yeah, and so,
cool.
Skills definitely a thing we want.
On Twitter, @Sinady asks, with the revamp, do you guys plan to give us new weapon or iconic abilities?
So with the current update, we are not making any new abilities or anything like that.
Yeah. And we're also not touching iconic abilities like fundamentally, right?
Correct. We'll be rebalancing them and everything. And they take skill points now and stuff. But yeah.
But there have been people who've asked in the past, like, buff up iconic abilities, make it a whole tree that I can just play by myself, like that kind of thing. There's no fundamental change there as far as
correct.
Like that.
Yeah.
Just make it clear.
Given the way the back end system works and everything, that could be expanded. I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Bumbling B asks, power regen and controllers. Before Weapon Mastery and Advanced Mechanics, being a controller was a lot about being a battery. My question is, are you thinking about this issue as you remove the changes, the power regen from AM?
Yes. So actually, controllers were something that we were very interested in. Right. It's sort of, they have a weird thing in that they're called controllers, yet they heal power almost exclusively, and that's a thing they do. And so over time, our goals are, to make controllers more controllery, if that makes sense. But so we like the power healing thing. That's a good role to fill and stuff like that. We want that to be one of their main boons, if you will. It's something that you bring to the group and definitely do. But controlling and also being a bit higher on damage than they are currently, and so we want to make sure that the controller role, like I said, can heal power. They can do a bit of damage. They can control things, and we want to make sure that the controller works with their teammates in order to keep people powerful and stuff like that. So
a little bit of responsibility on both parties, not just yelling at your controller.
Exactly, and I mean that's another skill component as well, right? So
okay, we answered that. Question from Super Patriot. Will the comparative damage of weapon attacks be adjusted during this revamp? Some seem stronger than others at the moment.
So we actually will be taking a look at every ability and every weapon attack and tweaking damage, making sure that they have a purpose and that sort of thing. The extent that happens for this update is we know what our goal is, I guess I should say, and so we'll be tweaking a lot of things. Whether or not it's perfect, it certainly won't be perfect. I mean, we should be pretty clear, but they will be tweaked and they will be adjusted, and we'll be looking to balance them. So,
and a lot of that will be an ongoing thing.
It's definitely an ongoing thing. We look forward to feedback and hearing kind of what you guys have to say about that, to make sure that those abilities read well and that they're performing the function that everybody thinks they should. So.
All right. Dawn asks, how will this affect players who run their support role through, for example, solos and duos?
Yeah, so we're hoping that it makes it more of a viable option, right? So as we said, we're bringing everybody's damage a little bit closer together. Well, not a little bit, a lot closer together. And we're also giving healers and stuff like that a bit larger bonuses to their stuff by being in healer role. And so we're hoping that it makes that process a little bit better as an option. We
just the narrowing of the gap should.
Yeah. We want it to be a viable thing. So
cool. All right, let's move on to page 2.
Page 2.
Yeah,
that was page 1.
Yeah. Wow. We have another question.
Questions.
From Bumbling Bee. Yeah.
I don't have that page.
You don't have. Okay. Surprises. This is hot seat stuff. Bumbling Bee asks, "Are you going to attempt to catch the manually adjusted content from after 47 as you change things back, or are you hoping we will find them as testers?"
Mm-hmm.
Both.
Yes, but both for sure. Yeah. So we have gone through and played a lot of the content, and the content team has gone through and played all of the content. And so there's lots of hand adjusted stuff that we're tweaking and tuning and that sort of thing. With a game this large and has this many instances and this much content, it's possible that we miss things. And so we're hoping that you guys can jump on test and check it out and not only let us know how you feel, but let us know if we miss something.
And we do keep records of what we've done in the past, so we know where to start. Getting it right is maybe another.
The content
question,
team is definitely adjusted quite a few things already.
Yeah.
So they've gone in and made sure that those things are cool. So.
Boris asks. That's with a 0, of course.
Oh, okay.
And a Y.
Nice.
Just one question, you guys. Thinking about changing the value of skill points on the weapon trees. So if we go back into the tree, is it all 1 point still?
So everything is 1 point to add, and then the 1 point you spend is worth more stats the higher up you go.
Okay.
Yep. So it scales, and so when you're CR 150, that point you spend should be significantly more awesome.
I think he's asking about like in the weapon tree.
Oh,
like
okay.
Before you had to spend like 1 billion points to get to the bottom. Now it's just It's just the 6 or 7. Or
the
whatever,
weapon
right?
trees are just weapon trees.
Yeah.
So they don't have stats in them or anything like that.
Yeah.
And so we've yanked all that out and out of the iconic trees. So all that goes in the skill point tree.
Cool.
Or, yeah, it's a tree.
All right. From Twitter @PariahPDX asks, so how are you going to address power regeneration without a controller? Right now you need advanced mechanics.
Right. So one of the things that we want to do with this change is that you're actually still going to be getting power as you use your weapon attacks and that sort of thing. We're making that mechanic much more transparent, and we're currently tweaking how effective that is. We want you to essentially have it be a thing that you manage, right? So you'll have certain abilities or tray abilities that will allow you to regenerate power. You'll have itemization that you can choose. So say, hey, if you want more power, that's a thing that you can choose through mods and stat points and stuff like that. And really, it's how do you want to manage your power sort of thing. And you may have to change your play pattern from what it used to be. But we want to make sure that there are people that can just go off of tray abilities or just go off of weapon attacks or a mix of the two and or focus on superchargers and forget that whole power thing. And so we want to make sure those options are available. So does that answer the question?
I think so.
Is there more?
Yeah. No, that's good. @CatDogPlayer88 wants to know if there will be any changes to respecking.
Changes to respecking. Not really, other than you just get your abilities when you level up, and so you don't have to go through and do all
you don't
the,
respec power
the
points,
stuff
I
there.
guess.
Yeah, you don't respec that, but you can go and change where your skill points are allocated and stuff. So.
All right. @EnjoyDCO wants to know if there are any changes coming to clipping or jump canceling. Will Hardlight go back to the way it was, etc.?
No.
Simple answer.
Good question.
Yeah. Wallachia wants to know, does that mean iconic only power set will be a viable option? Are they getting updated fundamentally? Oh, I kind of asked that earlier.
Yeah, we kind of answered that. I mean, not necessarily. No.
Supalova20. He says, or she says, Mepps, in caps. Will power interactions matter again, sir? Please answer.
So
just skip that one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who it's addressed to, so I don't.
No, go ahead. Power interactions.
So power interactions are definitely, with removing AMs and stuff, that's one of the things that floats to the top as a skill mechanic. So if you're paying attention to your power interactions and stuff, those will certainly increase the amount of damage or throughput that you have. To what extent, we haven't landed on yet, but they're definitely going to be a thing that you should pay attention to.
Cool.
Yeah.
Lernick asks, that's Lernik,
okay.
Is the power cost being changed for abilities? Power cost in their current state is undesirable. I'm not quite sure what that means, but
yes. So
all the numbers are changing.
All of the numbers are changing, yeah. And so power cost is definitely a thing. One of our systems designers was beating his head on this for a couple of days, and so sorry, you'll get it. It's good. But it's definitely something that we want to keep in mind. We want that to be a choice. Do I use this big expensive ability? Do I use this cheaper ability? How does my power look at the time? Is my controller available with cooldowns and whatnot to help me heal? And so that's a choice. And so we'll definitely be tweaking that and tuning, not just for this update, but for the future.
All right. The LQDCUO, that's Lord Quantum, wants to know, will the giant stats revamp, that's what we're talking about here, affect the progress of episode 27? Will it mean episode 27 is released sooner or later? I'll answer that.
Nope. All right.
The short answer is no, it doesn't. Episode 27 is planned to come out when it's ready to come out, and like we talked about earlier, if we need to not have stats be a thing so that we can get that out on time, we'll do that. If we can get it out beforehand, that'll be great too.
Yeah.
It's essentially unrelated, even though obviously the whole team is working kind of on both, but essentially no, it doesn't. @Frostwinters wants to know, have you considered combining might and precision into one stat?
So that's interesting. We actually have considered that. So that's something we're currently considering. We don't have a final answer for you, so I apologize. But in some aspects it makes sense, and some others it doesn't. And so we kind of have to weigh our options on that one. But
requires further investigation.
Further investigation, we'll say. Yeah, but that's a great question. It's very insightful.
Another one from Lord Quantum.
Mm-hmm.
How will the stats revamp affect content in the game? Will things be easier, harder, or the same?
So as we go and change all of the numbers, that stuff will change to be different. We're hoping that we can clearly express how difficult an instance or a piece of content is to you, and then make sure we hit that mark all the way up through, right? So if we say, this is how difficult solos are, when you go to a solo, they should feel that difficult no matter what your CR is.
Okay.
When you're of the appropriate CR. So.
And like we mentioned, NPCs in general will be getting healthier because
Yes.
we went through and added advanced mechanics essentially without adjusting NPCs.
Yeah.
So they've been too weak compared to
correct.
the
So
bonus damage.
and also we kind of expect more people to be jumping in on damage, so that should be a little bit better.
Cool. All right. C. David Powell on Twitter asks, in the new trees, will players be able to dump all SP into one stat? Like, for example, Ice DPS pumping everything into Might.
Right. So you guys saw the tree and how it functioned. We had some back and forth conversations about how all of that was going to work, and with the exception of capping them and not being able to put points into specific stats until you've done some work on your crit stuff, because those are extremely effective and scale very well. You can put them all in one stat if you'd like until you hit the cap. But if you do, if you're hardcore on feats and you do stuff like that, you should be able to have some spillover. So,
okay. Yeah. Rogue USPS wants to know how much of an improvement will modding be?
Okay,
or
so
stats, I guess stats-wise, will they have a greater impact on your effectiveness?
Yeah, for sure. So we actually, I don't remember how much we talked about this, but we are kind of redistributing. No, we talked about it a little bit.
Yeah.
We're redistributing where that stuff comes from, and so mods will be more effective. I actually might have a piece of paper here.
Oh,
right here.
Wow!
Talking about mods and stuff, it says up. So mods will be going up for sure. Actually,
that's a great piece of paper.
That's super good. Yeah. It's so good. But yeah, they'll be going up. Actually by a pretty good amount. So I think you should be able to feel the growth there, and because they require crafting and gathering materials and stuff like that, and so
should be worth the time.
Should be worth it. Yeah.
Cool.
For sure.
Owl wants to know, what does this mean for how players can or should help test for balance?
Okay, so basically, since all of the things are changing, we need testing, a broad range of testing.
Yeah.
Right? So going in and saying, trying instances out at many different CRs, looking at things like, hey, when do I get my abilities? Am I functional with the progression that we give you? Right? Like somebody else, I'm gonna say, who had mentioned that there was a healer that didn't have a heal early, and we were like, oh, my bad. That sort of stuff happens sometimes, and so keeping an eye out for that and making sure that the UI is readable and that the numbers make sense, and that you guys are feeling rewarded for the amount of effort that you put into things, right? So if you work really hard to get that last skill point, you put it in to hit 150 on your might, is that upgrade enough? Does that feel proportionate to what you did? And so, and then obviously roll differentiation and stuff like that. So when I go in and I play damage, am I feeling damaging enough, etc.
That, and with the powers individually, between each other, I think we talked about a little bit. It's less about what you're doing at the sparring target without interruption, max potential, and it's more about how actual boss fights go. Right?
Exactly. Yeah, and so that's going to be something that will be a bit different than how we did it before. And so
it's more complicated. It's a little bit harder to do.
It is much more complicated, but it gets complicated when we do introduce all these options and all of these different gameplay patterns that we're hoping that you guys are able to play and to fall in love with. And so, yeah.
Cool. Okay. 2 more questions from before, and then we'll get the chat. Brittany asks, how is this going to impact melee powers in terms of damage reward for taking on increased risk?
Right, so we mentioned that a little bit earlier. Basically, melee abilities will be higher damage. Yeah, to the extent we don't know, but it needs to be able to obviously help with the risk that you put in, the amount that you'll time you spent getting countered and stuff like that. And so
over the course of a boss fight,
exactly,
is it worth it for you to step up and do melee?
Yep.
Or not?
Yep.
It should be.
It should be for sure. That's definitely a goal, and we hope we hit it. But you guys will let us know.
All right, and the final question from the Collective Internet, which is actually what I wrote here. Collective Internet asks, when is this coming? And we don't have a date for you. We don't even have a tentative date for you, or even a time frame. Obviously, we're comfortable enough to be talking about it now, and we expect it to be the next thing on the test server. But that could be really anytime. And then when it comes live is completely separate from that.
Yep.
It may be the next update. It may be not the next update. Let's just say that. When we have more information, especially about when it's coming to test, we'll fill everybody in. But we don't have anything further to share on that. And those are the questions that you asked us throughout the day. Now, we are turning our attention to Twitch chat for a few minutes. Please ask. Just throw them out.
Throwing my notes out. We're getting crazy.
We don't even need notes anymore.
Yeah.
Where we're going, we don't need notes. All right. We'll see what we can do. Will you guys be... I guess I'd read them and then read them out. Oh, it's scrolling fast. Okay. Will you guys be tweaking animation times / dovetails of any powers or weapon attacks?
Yes. So we are actually going through each and every single ability, checking out dovetails, total animation time, and stuff like that, and categorizing them so we can more easily keep track of them, but also tune them and make sure that their costs and their damage and their effectiveness are weighed against other things like time spent using them.
Okay. Question: what about clipping weapon attacks? Will that remain? Are there any changes to clipping?
There aren't really any changes to clipping, so that will still be there.
Okay, do you have plans to make adjustments to PvP based on these changes?
So since everything was adjusted, that includes PvP stuff, and so that will be adjusted. There's no specific big changes for PvP in this, but we're hoping that the roles and how that stuff goes, that there'll be more options in the abilities you use and stuff, and the roles you choose to play.
I'm not being rude, not looking at you. It's just it's scrolling so fast. I have to keep my eye on it.
I never know where to look anyway. I'll just right there.
They're out there.
Right there.
They're in that direction.
You've told me. I just.
Let's see. Will combat rating relevancy be removed or adjusted in any way? Which is mark relevancy, I guess, is what he means.
Yeah. So no, not really. I mean, we may tweak where individual instances fall on the in the tier spectrum, but I don't think we really have done much of that at all.
Definitely not really. for this update. And there's no change. So you still need the same CR you needed before to get into an instance. All that stuff.
The same.
All that's the same because combat rating is still a thing. It's just not impacting your power, your effectiveness directly. Okay, will all individual moves in a certain power set be balanced?
We're hoping.
That's
we're working on it for sure. Yeah, I mean we're addressing all of that individually and with the the different moves and powers that each power set has. So.
Will there or could there be more than 6 powers on the loadout tray?
No, we're not adjusting that right now. So.
And that would be pretty hard to adjust to, just based on running out of buttons on the controller.
Yeah, I mean we talked about.
I suppose anything's possible.
Yeah, we've talked about that sort of being the decision point, right? So the how big your loadout is sort of the constant in all of this, and we're using that for to kind of force different builds and have different choices to be made there.
Chillcat wants to know if crafted mods will be more beneficial than synth mods. Are synth mods still a thing? I guess is another question.
I would have to check, actually. We had a conversation about this a long time ago. I'll have to get back to you on that. So, sorry. But the crafted mods should be pretty powerful.
They'll still be the best.
They'll be the best, sure. Yeah. That's a good question about the synth mods.
Yeah, that was good. Way to go.
Sport is like, I know the answer.
Yeah, he's like running down the hall.
If he's in there, he should.
Well, I don't know. How will combat rating affect pet powers? I guess.
Yeah,
I guess they mean the pets directly.
The pets directly. So this is one area where currently your CR does sort of determine power, but that could change and is possible to change.
To figure that out, probably. Yeah. Let's see. All right, keep the questions coming, folks. We're nowhere near the bottom of the chat box. Actually, never mind. Stop the questions for the moment. We're catching up. Let's see. Will there be new mods?
So we are making new mods. As far as like the standard mods and stuff like that, we're not making a whole lot of new ones, but we will keep rolling out different head mods and stuff like that. So the option is open for new mods to be created, but we didn't want to introduce necessarily that many more variables.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Question: will the power cost be displayed? Can it be displayed in the UI?
It is not displayed currently. We're looking at trying to be more transparent in the future, and so that may be an option in the future for sure, but it won't be for this update.
Are there any changes to controller debuffs in this update?
Yes. So there's some things, defense debuffs and stuff like that. Since stats are changing, we're addressing those and trying to make sure that those feel effective, that it's noticeable, and that you need them. Right. So that's part of making the controller feel controllery.
There are a lot of questions about how this advanced mechanic or this power set that has such a strong advanced mechanic will be made to work as good or not as good, or et cetera, et cetera. And I just want to reiterate, gone. No more advanced mechanic damage. So, like, your whole conception of how strong a power is right now versus how strong it will be after this update, is essentially, speculation. It's completely different because the advanced damage.
We did want to keep not advanced mechanics, but mechanics like combos and auras and stuff like that. We still want to make those viable and good options to use. And so, with that in mind, they'll be powerful, but they won't be what they used to be.
I also want to point out we're taking questions about the stats revamp, not about just like anything. So we're skipping over the random questions. Will we be able to reach 100% critical attack chance / damage now? I don't actually know what that means. I should have.
So we got to filter these. Yeah. No. So the answer is no.
Okay.
Yeah. So you'll be able to see, and as with everything, the numbers could change and stuff like that. But it's mostly what's in your skill tree that you'll be able to max out. And then I believe there's a couple other things that give you crit chance. But all in all, it won't be 100%. So sorry.
Okay. Here's an interesting question. Yak Woke Lions, that's a fun name, says, my OP gear has better stats but keeps me at CR 173 instead of 175. Will I get less stats from trees because I want to use the better gear?
So basically the way OP stuff works is you won't care necessarily about the CR on that as much. They do give you a significant amount of stats, but since the CR no longer affects or changes your effectiveness, you can go ahead and use those.
Yeah, you'd go for the stats, and if anybody starts whining about how you're lower CR, you just put your other piece of gear on.
As long as
you show them, and then you take it off, and you're like, I'm OP.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm OP. Exactly.
That's what you do.
Please do that. Yes.
Yeah. Random questions. We already answered that. All right, I'm going to skip to the bottom because people are asking their questions multiple times because we didn't answer them fast enough. And I don't want to read them again. Will the caps on the amount of skill points you can place into stats be increased as the number of skill points we can attain increases?
Good. That's a great question. I meant to address that. So yes, we will be increasing the skill point cap, as we do new DLCs and expansion material, stuff like that. So.
We always want you to be able to put your skill points into things that matter for your power, your role, right?
Part of the reason of doing that whole update was that we realized that skill points are kind of an evergreen reward. When you get one, it's awesome because you can spend it a bunch of places, and so we want that to continue to be there and be an option. And so as we expand, we'll keep expanding that, and the points will keep scaling up the amount of stats that you get. So.
Couple questions about how stats are applied to different gear pieces. Like the general amount of restoration I get, will I get comparatively more or less after the update? Like, are we making any adjustments there?
We are making adjustments. I don't have those numbers off the top of my head. I know they're changing because some of them scaled in interesting ways. They were different than other things, and that made it a bit more difficult to balance and stuff. And so we are adjusting those. But I don't actually recall which specific way. So I'll have to get back to you on that.
Okay. Let's see. Without advanced mechanics, will power interactions still hold the same type of damage boost with complementing powers? Right. Power interactions remain. Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Will pets be affected by range?
So the pet abilities will be adjusted just like everybody else's abilities. So I assume that's what they meant, kind of like mid-range stuff.
Guess, yes. If the pet is using melee abilities, they'll do more damage.
They'll do melee damage, yeah. it's dangerous in there for them too.
Yeah. A lot. They die a lot. Question, is this only a plan or can we test it on the test server as well? I mean, not right now. Today you can't test it
Correct.
on the test server.
Yeah.
But
we can test it.
We can test it on the internal test servers. It's pretty cool. Stop by. No, don't. But you will be able to test it on the test server. Okay, 2 more questions, and then we're going to take it to the forums after that. Remember to hit the developer discussion forums for Avair's wonderful post on this whole thing and for lots of question and answers already. Question, I saw the stat tab under the traits menu. Can we have a look at that again? Sure. We can show you the thingamajig.
All right, so we'll go back here. It's our
This is traits, yep.
And stats, and so you can view each one. So here's our critical hit chance, and then we have effectiveness, so your damage or magnitude, and then down here, just all of your straight stats, so precision, restoration, vitalization, etc. Kind of going through.
Why don't you close the UI and reopen it again?
Oh, bug.
Yeah, it does
there
that.
There we go. That's fixed internally.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I reported that, so I'm glad.
Good work.
I like feeling useful.
So yeah, if you can see in here...
what?
Where
I've done it wrong.
Oh, this says PowerPoints. That's not accurate.
That is not accurate. All right.
Make sure our commands are going on.
I'm trying to give us skill points so we can show you. Okay, there we go. Now, try it.
Weird, it's saying PowerPoints. All right, we're going to work on this. Clearly some things to be ironed out. Aha! So, man, that was the fastest way to that many skill points ever. Yeah,
good job.
So if you look here, actually, this first point into health gives you 200 health, which is significantly larger than what it might have given before. So see that upgrades. It's to 204. You can keep going. We can just spam through these super fast. All right. So see how it's increasing with each update. Now you're getting 5 per, and it will keep going up, kind of relative to what your CR is and stuff like that. So there's a display bug here. This doesn't currently have enough character. The character limit's too small. So
right.
Yeah, you can put more than 17 points in that.
How many can you put in?
I believe it's 170.
Is it 170?
I think it's 170 currently. We could sit here and I could spam these for a while, but
it goes well higher than 17.
Yeah, exactly. And
Got
so
it. Okay.
you can see each one of these. Your first, let me get back to there. See, your first update is here, and then when you put 1 point into it, it'll then show what you'll get the next level for your next point spent. And so, there you go.
There you go. That is that's the stats.
Yep.
All right. I'm looking for a final question. Why not? Will there be a cap on stats?
So there will be a cap that you can attain, if that makes sense. So cap
if you spend all your points, then you're
if you spend all your points and stuff like that, and you have the best gear and you have all the best mods and that sort of thing. It's not like hard capped or anything, but there will be I guess a
ceiling that will move every expansion. But you're not like, oh, you have too much dominance now. You can't have more. Whatever. Cool. All right. That is our live stream, folks, and that is the stats revamp coming to the game at some point in the future. Check out the website at dcuniverseonline.com for the post, or check out the official forums from that website.
Keep an eye.
Look for developer discussion forums. We will be there throughout the rest of the day and, next couple days, obviously answering your questions, getting your feedback. We do need your feedback. We want to know your thoughts and your questions. Your questions often spark us to ask other questions, and it works really well like that. And of course, when we are moving to the test server, we're going to need all the help we can get to make sure that everything feels as good as it can as we go in this new direction with stats.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
So look forward to hearing from you guys.
Thank all of you for tuning in. Follow us on Twitter at DCO. Follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/DCUniverseOnline, as well as YouTube, which will have the replay of this show in just a moment for you to watch. Until next time, later, folks.
Goodbye.